Week 3 of the Kansas City Chiefs OTA practices are officially wrapping up, and with that being said, we have more news, notes, highlights, observations from another week of practice here in Kansas City. And before we deep dive into a couple of players I think have risen their stock but also have moved their way up the depth chart, do me a big favor. I want to give a major shout out to the Chiefs media team over in Kansas City. They work so hard each and every single day to get out these highlights for us. And do me a favor, go follow them on Twitter. You're going to see some of their ads at the top left of your screen throughout the entirety of this video. So go follow them. Like, without them, these videos aren't possible. So make sure you guys do that. Again, they enable us to kind of use this footage and talk over it, right? So go follow them on Twitter. And with that being said, let's kind of dive into the video. Now, one of the biggest storylines over the past few days was the signing of Mecole Hardman, another guy who just has blazing speed. And what's really interesting when you look at this Kansas City Chiefs roster compared to last season, the wide receiver room is just so much better. And that's kind of scary, considering the fact that they just came off a Super Bowl win and actually back-to-back Super Bowl wins and now have a chance to three-peat with a much better offensive roster. Not only do you have the fastest player in NFL history in Xavier Worthy, you have Hollywood Brown, you still have Rashee Rice, you still have Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, you signed Mecole Hardman, have Justin Ross. I mean, this team has more speed than I have ever seen. And obviously, Mecole Hardman's a guy who's been here with the Chiefs for a long period of time, already has the chemistry built with Patrick Mahomes. Won't be a day one starter most likely, but a guy who gives you a great plug and play starter if need be, if someone has to miss a game or two. Mecole Hardman is a guy that they will be able to utilize a ton this season. So I definitely love that signing. That's been huge. We also got some really good news regarding BJ Thompson, a guy who I believe had a medical scare yesterday. They rushed him to the hospital, but is good, is awake now, and that is definitely some good news. So definitely love to hear that. Now, in terms of guys that have been breaking out so far over the last few weeks of camp, and as they start to ramp up into next week's mandatory minicamp, which we will cover as well, so make sure you guys join the family. But Marquise Hollywood Brown is a guy that maybe nobody is surprised about. I mean, the chemistry that he's already built with Patrick Mahomes has been incredible. Connecting with him on multiple deep balls. I mean, Hollywood Brown's going to be one of those guys who could just get over the top of a defense, keep the defense honest, but also open up running lanes for a guy like Isaiah Pacheco, right? So I do think the addition of Hollywood Brown is really, really good, and you could already tell in the practice field, dude does everything he's asked, and he's going to be he's going to be a dynamic, versatile threat for Patrick Mahomes going forward, and definitely one of the biggest standouts so far is definitely him. So definitely excited to see how he continues to develop. Another wide receiver looking good is Nico Remigio. I believe that's how you say his name. But he's been, garnering a lot of attention from the media lately. I mean, racked up over 1,800 yards, 13 touchdowns during his collegiate career. Now coming over here, obviously there's a very uphill battle in terms of playing time because all the wide receivers we already mentioned. But in terms of young guys standing out, he's probably at the top of my list, right? I think he could make the roster over Kadarius Toney. I think, Sky Moore is really falling down the depth chart now. I mean, there was a couple of practices ago where he got multiple opportunities with deep shots from Patrick Mahomes. Just didn't come down with any of them, which was definitely not what you want to see if you're Sky Moore. So maybe Sky Moore can continue to get better as time goes on, but right now, definitely wasn't a good practice. Then you have Reid, a return man, a running back, a guy who's been breaking out. I know a lot of Chiefs fans out there actually don't think he's going to be able to make the roster, but this is a guy with the new kickoff rule that has tremendous value. I mean, you look and just talk about the new kickoff rule. There is so much strategy that you can have behind it. It's making these new kick returners so much more valuable to a team. And I think Reid is a guy that could give you a ton of flexibility in the kick return game alone, especially if Kadarius Toney doesn't make the roster. Now, before we get any further into the video, we'll talk about a couple of other standouts from OTAs. Do me a big favor, hit the like button just because we want to get this video out to more Chiefs fans around the world, but also, more importantly, subscribe if you're new. Guys, it is free. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, and not only that, we're going to be covering the Chiefs throughout the entirety of the offseason. OTAs, mandatory minicamp, preseason, training camp, regular season, and once the season does kick off, we're going to be breaking down some all-22 coaches film throughout the entirety of the season, making sure you guys are kept up to date with everything regarding the Kansas City Chiefs and their road to potentially going back to back to back as champions. Now, with that being said, let's kind of get right back into the video. We talked about Luis Ruiz-Zammit, we talked about Nico, we talked about Hollywood Brown. Let's talk a little bit about Xavier Worthy. Now, he's obviously not a breakout because he just hasn't been healthy, right? Just signed a new rookie contract, officially put pen to paper, will be on the Chiefs, right? But at the end of the day, he is dealing with injury. So I think he's got a hamstring. They're being really, conservative. Do not want him to miss any time when it comes to training camp. So they're going to keep him out throughout the entirety of OTAs. We'll see what happens during mandatory minicamp. But as of right now, I think they're playing it safe, right? Worthy is a guy who, is a little bit slender, a little bit skinny, but is a big-time wide receiver threat for them. And they want to make sure that he stays healthy no matter what. And I think it is smart for them to do so. Now, another guy who's been looking really good back in going into the standouts is Godric. Now, Godric is a right tackle. I'm not going to attempt to say his first name because I'm going to butcher it. And I know you guys are going to roast me in the comments. So, Godric, the offensive tackle who, with Donovan Smith leaving as a free agent this offseason, it's opening up a big role for someone to come in here and just make a name for themselves right now. So when you look at that tackle position, there's a lot of guys that can come in here and compete. Obviously, you have Wayne Morris, you have Kingsley, you have Godric. All of these guys are going to come in here and just add some sort of competition, which is huge. I think Godric has, stood out the most. Now, he is going to miss a little bit of time, I believe, but we'll see what he can do when he gets back. So again, I think him and Wayne Morris were dealing with some sort of legal issue, but they seem to be good now. They're back at practice and have been doing pretty well so far. We'll see how those guys continue to be better. As far as other standouts, Jared Wiley is an interesting one. He's definitely skyrocketing up the depth chart here. Now, again, not going to be a day one starter, but you look at Travis Kelce, you look at Noah Gray, they're trying to find that next man up. Once Travis Kelce does ultimately retire in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, whenever it may be, they're going to need that next man up. And Jared Wiley looks like he has all of the athletic skills in the world to be a big-time playmaker, at least with the football in his hands. So, hey, listen, keep an eye out on him during mandatory minicamp and training camp. He has done such a good job so far and is only going to continue to build rapport with Patrick Mahomes and, everyone else on the team, right? So, and the last guy I wanted to bring up on this list is Jaden Hicks. Jaden Hicks has, so much confidence in himself, but also Steve Spagnuolo loves this dude, man. He thinks he's going to be a day one contributor for this defense. I know they have guys like Justin Reid and Brian Cook, but watch out for Jaden Hicks really working his way up this depth chart, and maybe even having, a day one role on this team by the start of next season. They're thrilled to have this dude on the roster, and according to DB coach Dave Moret and Steve Spagnuolo, this dude is way better than everyone thought in the draft, and he's already trying to cook up some ways to make him a day one priority to get onto the field and to get some playing time. So those are kind of the biggest surprises in terms of standouts and OTAs. Again, take with a grain of salt. No pads, no contact. People are going to look good versus air a lot of the time, right? But we're going to see how they continue to get better as time goes on. Let me know what you guys think. Who's your prediction? Who do you guys think could break out this season? Hit the like button, subscribe, join the family, and I'll see you guys in the next Chiefs update. Peace.